everybody, and welcome to the second episode of my special segment of 2019 007, A Bondiful Year. In case you are new to my channel, welcome. It is a pleasure to have you, and I'm so excited to be giving you guys this very special series of reviews throughout 2019 to prepare for the 25th James Bond film, and I will finally be able to call myself a completionist in the world of James Bond now that I will have finally seen every single James Bond film. So of course we're going to continue on and go to the second James Bond film from 1963, once again starring Sean Connery, and one of the villains is played by the legendary Robert Shaw from Russia with Love. So this movie, we get a bigger budget, we actually get a sequel. This is a direct sequel, which we don't really get too many of in the world of all the James Bond films. We've been seeing that a lot more often with the Daniel Craig series of Bond films, but this time we actually do get a direct sequel. And we also get our first opening action sequence as well. We also see the normal faces that we're going to see throughout all of Bond. We now know who M is. We now know Miss Moneypenny. And in this movie, we get Q for the first time, who is the guy that gives James Bond all the awesome gadgets, and everybody loves when Q comes into the office of M and just gives James Bond all the inventions, and you get to see how they all work. And the most exciting part is when in the entire film is James Bond actually going to use them, and more importantly, how will he? So, foiling Dr. No's plans definitely did not leave a good note on the world of Spectre, and now Spectre is pissed off. And this time we actually get a little bit of a taste of who the head of Spectre is, but we have no idea who he is. All we do is we hear his voice, we see his hand stroking his white Persian cat, and if you are Austin Powers fans, now you know where Dr. Evil and Mr. Bigglesworth come from. But we also see some of additional cronies that are part of Spectre, and because of what happened with Dr. No, they want James Bond dead. So the head of Spectre goes towards two of his leading people. One who is planning on killing James Bond with the help of Robert Shaw's character, as well as a mad scientist named Kronstein, who is looking to try and fake bad relations between the United Kingdom and Russia so the two sides will go to war. But in the mix, there is a female Russian spy, a real blonde bombshell, who is looking to defect because she has fallen madly in love with 007. So at this point in time, of course, because it's during the Cold War, she is willing to give the United Kingdom and the United States some vital information in regards to a piece of technology that the Soviet Union is using, and she wants to give it directly to James Bond. So the question is she in fact telling the truth? And more importantly is, will the two of them manage to survive until they actually meet each other and pass off the information? And even more importantly, is her love towards James Bond in fact real? I was expecting a slightly better film, and as a matter of fact, I really did enjoy this film a great deal. It was a lot of fun. I loved the complex plot points. I also loved the character development. Now that we officially have James Bond established, we're seeing a great deal of James Bond's character and a couple of his mannerisms that we are so used to in all of James Bond. But what I also really liked about this movie was how they really managed to go and show us some beautiful landscapes. Most of the movie actually takes place in Turkey, and one of the few things that I was very happy about was the fact that we actually see Turkey, which is an area that we really don't see too much in film, and it doesn't look like the typical Arab location like Iran or Iraq. It actually looks very Eastern European, and I think that it broke a lot of stereotypes, and that's one of the other things that a lot of people don't know too much about James Bond films. A lot of the locations that take place in the films actually give us an opportunity to see a lot of the locals, so we get a very diverse series of characters. In Dr. No, we had a lot of black actors playing characters because it took place in Jamaica, and in this case, we see a lot of Eastern European and Armenian and Arabian characters. The 1960s was definitely a time where a lot of change was happening in films, and a lot of lines were actually being crossed, and a lot of bars were actually being pushed in very positive ways, and we got some of the greatest films in the 1960s. But this film also has a lot of action, a lot of romance, and a lot of comedy as well. There's definitely a lot of jokes. Sean Connery definitely is the most charismatic James Bond that I know of, and I've seen every single one of them except for Timothy Dalton, but we'll get into that a little bit later on as this show progresses throughout the year. But it definitely is bigger, and it's more fun, it's more exciting. It's got, of course, that great John Barry score, and at the end you are definitely satisfied with how it all ends, and you are even more excited to see what's going to happen with MI6 versus Spectre, because this story is definitely far from over. And we actually get the song from Russia with Love, not at the beginning of the film, but at the end of the film. But I can tell you one thing, the next James Bond movie that I am going to be talking about is probably one of the most universal all-time favorites in all of James Bond, and I am really excited because that is really when everything starts to turn into the traditional, familiar James Bond motif that we all have known for so many years. But this is a good one. You should definitely check it out. It's one that not many people really talk about. I'm going to give From Russia with Love a 3 stars out of 4. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments in the box below, and let's discuss From Russia with Love. And I will see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.